mid 1800s, the gold rush era. Gold had just been discovered in Australia, and because Australia was a British colony at that time, the policy of the then colonial government was to dig everything up and speed it to Britain, because anything found in Australia had to be sent to Britain. As I mentioned, Australia was a British colony at that time. But the question that I'm asking in this video is, whose colony is Australia now? We are an independent nation. We are not a colony anymore. Whatever wealth is found in Australia belongs to Australia. Then why is the present government and the government before that and the one before that, that is the current political setup of this country, hell bent upon digging everything up and then speeding it to another country? Mining. The biggest resource a country can have is the mineral wealth, and mining is an industry which is booming in Australia. But do you think the Aussies are getting the right deal out of it? I don't think so. I think the government is acting like dacoits, looting the wealth that belongs to themselves, looting the wealth that belongs to this country by privatizing the natural resources of a country. The natural resources found in a country are what determines how great a country is going to be. In fact, not just the natural resources found in a country determine its future, but what determines a country's future is how intelligent the people leading that country are. America is number one for two reasons. First, doesn't matter whether the person is a black guy or a white guy or a yellow guy or a brown guy. If that person is talented, he will get the real worth of his talent. That's the first reason why America is number one. And the second reason is they are not utilizing or destroying their own resources. They are getting resources from other countries and using their resources for their benefit. To give you the best example, oil. How much money and time has America spent in digging up its own country and finding oil in its own backyard? It doesn't need to. When it controls the oil, which is a mineral wealth of another country, another part of the world, when it can control that mineral wealth, why should it use its own wealth? It is sitting tight on its own wealth while it is using another man's wealth. That is why America is number one. But what about Australia? We are digging up our own natural wealth and speeding it to other countries, and that too not on the most profitable basis. The government has leased the mining sites to private hands. You know what it is like? It's like a family inheriting a house from one of their distant relatives, from one of their distant uncles who dies, and leaves them a house along with a letter that, look, I have hidden 10 quintals of gold. There's 10 quintals of gold buried in the house that I'm leaving you guys. You can find that gold and you can have that gold as well as the house. And what does that family do? That family puts out an advertisement in the newspaper and says that anyone who will give us a better rent can rent the house as well as dig the house and find the gold, and he can give us 40 or 50% out of the profit of that gold, and he can keep the remaining profit for himself. That is what the government is doing. Each and everything that is being dug out of Aussie soil belongs to the Aussie people, and it's the Aussie people who should be getting all the money. But what government is doing, it has leased those sites to private organizations. Now the private organizations, they are paying the lease money to the government, and they are digging up the minerals for the Aussie government, but they are taking a share out of that profit. I want to ask, why can't the government afford the infrastructure to dig everything up and then own everything for itself? Will the government not make more money that way? And that's the first part of what I want to say in this video. The second part is, even if government was digging up its own digging up the mines on its own and recovering the minerals on its own, that still does not mean that the minerals should be distributed at raw prices to the whole world so that they can manufacture other things, other goods out of those minerals and make much more money. If Australia wants to be number one, Australia has got enough potential to be number one today. Considering the amount of mineral wealth that Australia has, if the present set of politicians even had 5% of intelligence in them, they would have not only controlled the mines themselves directly, so that they make all the profit out of everything that is being dug out, but they would have asked the foreign companies to set up their production units in Australia, that we will dig up the minerals, whatever mineral you want, but you have to set up your industry in Australia. Whatever you will manufacture, we will take sales tax out of it, as well as our people will get jobs in that industry. Can you people even imagine where Australia would be if that thing happened? But what is the present government doing? It has leased the mining sites to private organizations who are digging up Australia's natural wealth, giving the government whatever share it is they are giving to the government, and taking a big profit out of that share themselves, big profit out of those mines themselves, while that profit, the money that's going into their pocket, that belongs to the people of Australia, that belongs to this country. And other than that, they are sending those minerals to foreign countries who are making money out by processing that raw material. Not only is government looting its Australia's own natural resources, it's also not utilizing those resources efficiently. Imagine all the number of industries which can be set up in Australia, all the foreign companies that could be made to set up their production houses in Australia. How much job opportunities will that create, and how much money will government make out of the taxes it will collect from those organizations? But do you think they are idiots who don't know, and I am someone super intelligent who knows all this? They are just corrupt people. They are hand in glove with those businessmen. That is the only truth. They don't care for Australia. They don't care for what benefits Australia. They are only concerned about the money they get in kickbacks from the people who run those organizations that control the mines. And that is the only truth. I was born in India. I was brought up in India. India is my motherland. I've been living in Australia for 4.5 years now. And I've been a citizen of Australia since November 2009. As a citizen of Australia, everything good or bad that happens in Australia and affects other Aussies affects me as much. I criticize India for whatever wrong is in India, and I criticize whatever wrong the Indian government does. And I've got the same right to criticize the Aussie government as well. However, I cannot claim a right to change anything for the Aussies because I wasn't born here. However, I can tell you what is wrong and what needs to be changed. It's you people who have to get up and change it for yourself. I cannot do it for you. Yes, I've got every right to go back to India and change what's wrong in India. But as I said, as an Aussie, anything that affects other Aussies affects me as well. Now I am with you people. Are you people ready to fix what's wrong with Australia? I'll leave the choice to you people. Thanks for watching.